Hello, I'm OT the Speaks, so known as O Speaks. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, share. I'm going to get straight into it. What's going on, Just Jay? Yeah, somebody's peeking through the window. What's going on, TP? How you doing, sir? Um, Today's topic, today's title of today's live is the left cries foul, sanctuary cities fail to stop Donald Trump criminal, illegal alien arrests. He is deported. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do and exactly what he ran on. First thing he said he was going to do was pass his executive orders and start getting rid of these criminals who are here, and we don't know a lot of them who are there. But what's weird is we know a lot of them who are, and we did nothing about it. The Biden administration did absolutely nothing about it. And I was watching Miss Akini's live yesterday because I had already had my thumbnail made. I knew I was going to talk about this topic, but she put up a graphic, and this is from November. Let me read this. The non-detained, non-citizen convicted criminals that were in this country roaming free since, again, this was November. She posted something from November. I think it was a Fox News article. Anyway, convicted of homicide, there were 13,099 criminal, illegal aliens that were convicted of murder. That they've been in this country just roaming around. No big deal, just roaming around. Convicted of SA, 15,811, just roaming around. No big deal. What's going on, G. Will? And then she had another slide. And shout out to Miss Akini, a great live yesterday. She covered same topic. I'm doing it a little bit differently though. I do it a little bit differently. 1,845 non-detained, non-citizens with pending criminal cases of homicide. 1,845 illegals roaming our country in November who are pending charges on unaliving people. Very interesting that the Biden administration handled it this way and sanctuary cities handled it this way, but this is just what we've been sitting in. This is why things were happening, and people are trying to figure out why, like, how come nobody's doing anything about this? Well, they were just letting them go right back into the community, into your community, into my community, into the taxpayers' community. Pending SA assault charges, 4,250 illegal aliens in this country that were pending, waiting for their trial. It's pretty incredible. So those are my biggest takeaways from her live. Not that there was anything else that I didn't take away, but I'm covering a lot of it today. So with that being said, let's pull this up and get right to it. A lot of information of what's going on. As soon as Trump got in office, he started taking care of business, doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And the liberals, what's really funny is I see some of them acting like we're supposed to have some kind of buyer's remorse with that. I thought it's a weird tactic. It's almost like they think that we're supposed to automatically feel like them now that he's doing what we voted him in to do. I think something like that. I don't know. I don't get the approach. If you would like to provide a fresh wind, I put the CashApp in the comments. If you scroll up, if you're wondering why I would put my YouTube channel in my comments on YouTube, it's because I'm also live on Rumble, so the Rumble people can see that, and then hopefully sub up here on YouTube, and I can get those last few followers to get to 500. It's so weird. It's like there's something stopping me getting these 500. My last live was great, phenomenal. I did it on that Episcopalian bishop, and it got taken down the next day. Blocked, completely blocked, which is weird because I've seen dozens of people covering that story. And for some reason, when something happens on YouTube and you get your content blocked, it gives you an option to trim the stuff out, right? So I could post that video right now if I trim all the segments that it says are copywritten. Everything that was copywritten was the bishop speaking. So if I reposted that video and trimmed it down, it would only be me talking and you guys would have no idea what I'm talking about. For some reason, somebody was able to copyright all of her words, even when she was up on the pulpit saying what she was saying. I've seen it everywhere else, but I don't know. Maybe because I was talking about her approach to kids. Possible. It's possible. Quite possible. Anyway, again, help me get to 500. Share this. I think I provide good information. I do it in a fair way. I give my opinions. I do lean to the right. I always say that. But I still present the actual information so you can make the decision on your own. And with that said, now I will pull up the video. Let's start. And it's going to start with, we have a new press secretary, which is phenomenal. It's going to start with that and the contrast between Karine Jean-Pierre and the new press secretary.
Acutely aware that my presence at this podium represents a few firsts. I am a Black, gay, immigrant woman, the first of all three of those to hold this position.
How are we? Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you. A lot of familiar faces in the room, a lot of new faces. And President Trump is back, and the golden age of America has most definitely begun.
You already see one's talking about herself and one's talking about President Trump and America. This is the difference in the last 4 years and now. Somebody's talking about DEI and the other one's talking about this country and being back and being ready to get to business. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know Melanie King. I don't know who Devin is. I think that's the guy my wife watches. I didn't know Brandon got theirs taken down. So at least I'm not the only one, because that made no sense. They did not like people talking about that.
The Senate has already confirmed 5 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees. During this pause, DOJ and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOJ and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
And I think Musk posted that they've so far found $450 million of other waste, and they've been able to cut that off. Amber C, how you doing? Bolo, what's going on? What's going on? So yeah, interesting stuff. But this is how the administration started, and here we go.
Question that we've asked your predecessors of both parties in this job: when you're up here in this briefing room speaking to the American public, do you view yourself and your role as speaking on, advocating on behalf of the president, or providing the unvarnished truth that is, not to lie, not to obfuscate to the American people?
I commit to telling the truth from this podium every single day. I commit to speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. That is my job. And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people, and that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that. But since you brought up Truth Seek, I would like to point out, while I vowed to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House.
And how do we know this? Because Trump has already won 2 lawsuits against ABC, and Melania is currently suing ABC, and it's not going to stop, because freedom of speech does not mean you can defame people, and defamation has always had a very hard. It's always been hard to prove defamation. Well, when you have the media doing what they did since 2015, 2016, it's so blatant that they're winning cases that in the past would never have been able to be won. That's how bad their lies are and how blatant their lies are.
Yes, I will hold myself to the truth, and I expect everyone in this room to do the same. Christian Daycock.
Thanks, Caroline. Just real quick, you mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what specifically is he doing to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. So I will leave you with this point. This is an example of why it's so incredibly important that the Senate moves swiftly to confirm all of President Trump's nominees, including his nominee for the United States Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is already speaking with Kevin Hassett, who's leading the economic team here at the White House, on how we can address the egg shortage in this country.
Caroline, on immigration, of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
That is a phenomenal answer, but I gave you guys the numbers from Miss Hakimi's live, and that was dated in November. Astounding numbers. Astounding numbers. She didn't have to give it because her answer is just what it is.
Kind of going with the worst first. They all have a criminal record.
And welcome to the briefing.
If they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal.
Advise the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress.
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Okay, so they disagree with lawmakers who say that they don't have the power to freeze this funding.
Again, I would point you to the language in the memo that clearly states this is within the law.
And all that happened on Friday night. The administration fired several inspectors general without giving Congress the 30-day legally required notification that they were being fired. I think only 2 were left at DHS and the DOJ. And then yesterday we saw several prosecutors, I believe 12, fired from the Justice Department who worked on the investigations into the president. As you know, they are career prosecutors, therefore they are afforded civil service protections. How is the administration deciding which laws to follow and which ones to ignore?
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to. There's also a case that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau Protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House was resting on.
This is the weirdest approach that they've been taking, and it's on whether or not Trump has the right to fire inspector generals, which are people who investigate corruption. The problem is, once he fired, we're looking for things, and they were witch hunting him. They were witch hunting people from January 6th, and they were helping the people who tried to put him in prison. Why should you keep them on as staff, as your staff? It's no different than what happened with Twitter. Now, there's supposedly a rule, not a law, a rule where he has to essentially evict them from their jobs and give them 30 days notice. He said, nah, I'm good. You're fired. And got rid of all of these people. And they're going to hire new people. And they're making it seem like he just fired randomly independent IGs. That's just not what happened. TP, I'm going to get to your question. I'm looking for the answer right now. I have a video that may cover it in here, but if not, I know where to find it. So I will get to your question. TP asked, if Trump shut down some government assistance programs. No, but I'll back that up. I'm not just going to say that. I'm going to back that up in a second.
That if they bring lawsuits against you, those prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed.
We will win in court.
And
yes.
did he personally direct this, given they worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House. So yes.
The Department of Justice does not work for the president.
Yes,
the
it does.
Department of Justice works for the American people.
No, it works for the executive branch. It's in the
Justice,
Constitution. It exists in the executive branch.
The lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people.
You're acting like it's an independent branch of government. It's in the
American people hired him to run the country. Therefore, yes, they work for us, but they also work for him. He's the chief executive. It's what it is.
executive branch run by the president.
I mean, yes, Scott, but the lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people, not for the president of the United States, not the person in the office.
So you don't think anyone in the executive branch is bound to the head of the executive branch?
No.
She said no. So before I get to this, I want to answer TP's question real quick. Let's see. Because I actually cut this out of the final. But it's an important one. It just wasn't on topic, so I cut it out. But I want to show you guys this part. So again, TP wanted to know about, let's see.
Rely on?
So TP wanted to know about the government assistance programs because I've been seeing this like passed around, and he's going to explain exactly what you're talking about. Again, I cut it out here because it wasn't about illegal immigration or this live, but here's the answer, sir.
Program, like a benefit program that Americans rely on.
Like Meals on Wheels.
Correct. There's no the OMB guidance document, which I think you're referring to, because the executive order was issued a week ago. It just gives clarity on how to implement the original executive order, which doesn't cover any entitlement or public benefit spending at all. And that's clear, by the way, if you read, as I'm sure you have, the OMB guidance document.
About El Salvador,
So he said all he did was halt it. Let me go back so you can read.
It's not directed by Congress or required by law. So this would be, for example, something like a contract to a non-governmental organization to teach, say, critical race theory. That there has to be a politically appointed individual in the departments or agencies who simply reviews and approves the expenditure.
So before they release grants, his executive order says there needs to be somebody there to interpret the actual law and make sure that they are releasing them according to the law. So you'll hear her ask about, I think, Meals on Wheels, to give an example.
So that we have control, democratic control over the operations of government. This doesn't affect any federal programs that Americans rely on, full stop.
It's not going to have any impact on any Americans and what they rely on?
In any program, like a benefit program that Americans rely on.
Like Meals on Wheels.
Correct. There's no the OMB guidance document, which I think you're referring to, because the executive order was issued a week ago. It just gives clarity on how to implement the original executive order.
That's it. So to answer the question, no, it doesn't. It's not about assisted programs. They froze it. A judge ruled that they unfreeze it, but by then they'd already established what they needed to establish, and that was that these people are using the grants for what they say they are, and not for DEI and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's that. Remove from the studio. Let's get back to now. This is Trump talking about he revoked security detail from people that Biden pardoned that were up to some really bad stuff. Mark Milley, I proved and showed you guys how he's a traitor and how he really, really, really should be in prison for life, for treason. He's the one who went behind Donald Trump as a general and spoke with the Chinese general and told them, we're not going to do anything. And if we do, I will call you ahead of time and warn you if Trump decides to do any military action against China. That is absolutely treason. So what Trump did against him and Fauci, and I think John Bolton was another one who was a former advisor of his. These are the people who are all just randomly pardoned by Biden because they helped him. He took away their security detail and said they can hire their own security. You don't get security forever. Fauci is another one. We all know what he did, and he no longer has security detail. Oh well, I don't know why we have to pay for that anyway.
Security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off. And, you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair. But you work for government. We took some off other people, too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you work for government.
Now, judges, congresspeople, and the president are the only ones who are allowed to have security detail forever, essentially. But nobody ever said Anthony Fauci should be getting security be paid for by us after he leaves his position. Same thing goes with General Milley. Nobody ever, there was no reason it should have been happening in the first place, and they saved tens of millions of dollars by doing what he did. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you feel partially responsible if something were to happen to, say, Dr. Fauci or John Bolton?
No. They all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too.
Yeah.
All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they, felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility.
The Department of Agriculture says that between 2020 and 2022,
now from here forward comes the illegal alien coverage.
42% of crop workers were undocumented immigrants. And in many cases, as you know, these migrants do jobs many Americans do not want to do. So how does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally?
So this is Stephen Miller. I think that's his name. Stephen Miller? I think it's Stephen Miller. Anyway, he is the new voice of the administration. So you have the press secretary who talks to the press. This guy is going to be the one who does the rounds on TV and answering those kind of questions. This guy's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Listen to his answer to this nonsense.
Doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries.
Well, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles, and small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden floods. Mm-hmm. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 legal aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are.
But I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about the ones.
I will give me 30 minutes. I'll go as deep as you want on this. I'm explaining to you and your audience.
I don't have I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
I'm
you
explaining
can come back
to you
and we
your
can talk
audience.
about the ones in the cities. I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They are in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. So we are going to unapologetically enforce our immigration laws. And as I'm sure you will celebrate, we are going to unleash the power and might of the U.S. government to eradicate the presence of transnational threats on our soil.
So he just destroyed Jake Tapper. Less than 1% actually work in agriculture. So we've heard that line since the 90s. They're just doing jobs that we don't want to do. What's going on? Easy Did It, Mike Nice, Phoenix Rising. They're just doing these jobs that we don't want to do. Okay, well, it's not just that. But even if you left it at that, okay, they still came here illegally. They still have to go about it the right way. How much are they getting paid? How many of them are there? What crimes have they done? We don't know any of that because we didn't look. But anyway, yes, TP said he hopes Trump creates a committee to look directly into government spending. That's exactly what Elon Musk is doing. Vivek was in there and he left. I guess they had some disagreements. But Elon Musk is specifically looking into this. He created a Department of Government Efficiency and Doge, obviously. And that's what they're doing. And they've already found over $900 million worth of waste. And it's only been, when did he get inaugurated? 10 days ago? So yes, TP, he's actually done it.
We know that the president spoke to President Bukele next week. Secretary Rubio will be in El Salvador. Should we be expecting El Salvador to take the Tren de Aragua Venezuelans as an agreement between the two countries?
Before he even gets into this, so I went over the most gangster story that Trump ever, of Donald Trump ever. And it's when he threatened the leader of ISIS that if a hair on an American citizen's head was touched, or American soldier's head was touched, he would essentially blow up his house with him in it and his family. But this story is even better. This is even more gangster. I don't know if you guys heard what Trump did to Colombia and Mexico, but you're about to see.
I can say on this, because I don't want to get ahead of Senator Rubio, is that the President Bukele has graciously offered tremendous degrees of cooperation with the United States on all things migration, and we're hoping that will provide a framework for migration cooperation all throughout the region. And I think it's very clear that President Bukele is going to be a very great and strong partner for this administration and for the United States.
And how that means getting Venezuela into El Salvador? Because, I mean, right now we don't have relationships with Venezuela.
Well, it is our full expectation that Maduro will accept all flights of TDA gang members back to Venezuela. Yes.
Is the Trump immigration method applicable to Europe? Europe has a huge immigration problem. Is that method of deportation, repatriation applicable to the continent?
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking, should Europe consider mirroring our own policies?
Absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's simple. I mean, you have to establish a policy that says that anyone who crosses the border is going to be immediately repatriated, that anyone in the country illegally is subject to removal, of course, prioritizing public safety and national security, as well as we've done, is a general matter, suspending refugee resettlement, which of course poses enormous burdens on local communities and populations. Any other questions?
Just on the tariff administration is with countries from South America, as Brazil, for example, in this deportation flight.
Oh, deeply engaged. So,
deeply
look, it's the president's expectation that countries all across the world participate fully in the enforcement of immigration laws, and in particular in the repatriation of their own citizens. This is a basic international obligation the United States abides by, all developed nations abide by, and we expect all of the partner nations all throughout the region to abide by as well. And we've had incredibly productive conversations with, frankly, nations all across Latin America, led by Secretary of State Rubio, who, if I may say, has done an absolutely fabulous job.
How do you know that Maduro will take TDA members
that are supposed to take effect on, or to be announced on February 1st? Can you just walk us through how you expect that to happen? The president has talked about 25% on Mexico.
I don't want to get ahead of the president. I will let him speak for himself on any tariff announcements. The bottom line is that the United States is going to have a trade policy that brings our manufacturing jobs back and that doesn't allow any other countries to exploit us.
Do you tell us about Canada, please?
Can you give us a...
Just to be clear, because I don't want to step on Caroline's briefing, so I'll do 3 more questions of this being the first of the story.
Do you expect those tariffs?
Hold on,
Do you expect the tariffs to take effect immediately?
I want to defer to Andrea.
Well, no, I don't have anything else to add to that subject, so I just want to go there.
So they're talking about terrorists. We're going to get to that in a second.
All right, my question is on numbers. Can you give us a sense, an exact figure of how many people have been brought up in the ICE raid so far, and how many you're expecting to do?
Well, ICE has published the daily numbers. I just did an interview with Jake Tapper, and he talked about the new targets that have been set, which is really a floor. I mean, to put this in perspective, I think in Biden's worst month in office, there was almost 350,000 apprehensions at the southwest border. So it gives you a sense of the scale of work that we have to do here. So we're going to continue to set ever more ambitious targets. But again, we're going to really focus in on public safety threats, understanding that you can't have a situation as a nation where, say, in Biden's last month in office, if he releases 100,000 illegals into the country, what, they just all get to stay here for life? forever because they came in December of 2020, and now it's a lifetime pass. I mean, of course, you can't have a nation run that way. But we're going to focus on public safety and national security. All right.
President Trump and the president of Colombia have backed off threats of a trade war after a dispute over returning deported migrants on U.S. military planes. The country's president initially said he wouldn't accept the flight, saying the U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. That prompted President Trump to threaten.
So even before we get here, two flights full of illegals were sent from here to Colombia. And this is the result of that. And let's just play it.
A travel ban on Colombian government officials and 25% tariffs on imported goods, increasing to 50% in a week.
So this is the full thing. So this is Trump's Truth Social post. I was just informed that two deportation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. I've been arguing with people and telling them on Twitter, and they say, oh, you can't force these countries to take these people. Oh, you can. And I kept telling them they don't have a choice. When Trump says do something, they don't have the option to say no. So what did Trump do? This order was given by Colombia's socialist president, Gustavo Petro, who is already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized national security and public safety of the United States, of us. So what does he do? So I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. You can't say no to this guy if you're a world leader. We're too powerful. We haven't acted like it. But every now and then, you got to flex. And this is why the world leaders respect Donald Trump. They hate him, but they respect him. What did he implement? Immediately. Emergency, 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States in 1 week. The 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. A travel ban and immediate visa revocations on all Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters. So not only do their government officials get the boot out of here, you're gone. But anyone who supports them and any of their allies, you gotta go. So what does this do? This creates those people saying, whoa, Colombia, what are you doing? We just got our visas revoked. Why aren't you complying with taking back criminals that are yours? So Colombia has to do something because now they're getting pressure not just from us, not just financially, but from their allies and any of their supporters. Next one, visa sanctions on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. Again, the family, anyone in the party of the elected officials, all of them, you're gone. You cannot come to this country. What else? Enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. The IEEPA Treasury, banking on financial sanctions to be fully imposed. These measures are just the beginning. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regard to acceptance and return of criminals that they forced into the United States. You can't fight this. You can't win. And I've been telling people since he first started saying he would do this on day one, which we now see he's doing it. He's been doing it. When every time I saw a liberal or a leftist say he can't do that, there's no way to enforce it. Oh, there's a way. And you hit their pockets and you hit their ability to travel here, and that's it. So what happened?
Colombia punched back with a tariff threat of its own, but ultimately backed down.
What message is President Trump trying to send by using military aircraft?
Well, he's trying to use a strongman message, and he's prepared to pull out all the stops in order to have it succeed.
Immigration crackdown operations are ramping up across the country, with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement agents reporting nearly 1,000 arrests Sunday. TV personality Dr. Phil tagged along on a Chicago raid. Tom Homan, who President Trump calls border czar, was there as well.
President Trump, in less than a few days, has immediately made an impact.
Some Republican lawmakers are praising the president, while some Democrats say the use of military planes is for show.
They're mad that they're not using other planes, and they're using military planes to make a point. I don't know why that they care. I don't know why this is a point of contention, but how we get them there shouldn't matter. But liberals will find anything because they just hate Donald Trump. And he's showing a use of force. So sending the military planes, landing into Colombia, and giving them back their people is a message. It's an undeniable message. You're going to do what we say. That's it. And Colombia is not the only country that tried to say no, as you'll see in a second.
ICE airplanes carry more people than that C-17 that took off from El Paso carry.
The Trump administration defended its actions.
We're going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Colombian officials are set to travel to Washington this week to follow up on their agreement with the U.S.
They caved. They had no choice. It took 1 day. 1 day of the pressure of not just us, of their allies and their family and their friends and anyone who supports them. Hey, you need to work this out. You need to fix this. I don't know what's going on, but they are Colombians. It's not like we're sending, Venezuelans to Colombia. It's not like we're sending Haitians to Colombia. We're sending your people. Your criminals. Take them. It's not an option.
International dispute capping a whirlwind first week in office for Trump that featured a torrent of executive orders and presidential proclamations.
I took nearly 350 executive actions to reverse the horrible failures and betrayals that we inherited.
Many of them aimed at dramatically reshaping America.
Our message could not be more clear. America's decline is over.
Overnight, 7 Democrats joining Republicans in the Senate to confirm Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary, putting the former South Dakota governor in charge of the department at the center of Trump's immigration crackdown.
The vice president votes in the affirmative, and the nomination is confirmed.
So it's not just Noem. Hegseth got in. RFK is going through his trial right now. Kash Patel's going through, not trial, but hearing, I guess, the confirmation hearing. So RFK, Kash, and I think Tulsi's up this week. They're all going to get in.
Dramatic moment on the Senate floor. Vice President J.D. Vance casting the deciding vote to confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for breaking the tie.
3 Republican senators voting against Trump's controversial choice to run the Pentagon. The military veteran and former Fox News host fending off allegations of sexual misconduct, financial mismanagement, and alcohol abuse, allegations that he's denied. This as Democratic lawmakers and even some Republicans are blasting Trump for purging independent government watchdogs on Friday night. Sources tell ABC News that Trump fired at least 17 inspectors general.
And this is what I was talking about earlier. This is what Caroline Leavitt was talking about in her press secretary conference, her press secretary.
Officials tasked with rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse across the government.
That was their task, but instead of doing that, they went after Trump. And they were appointed, so I don't know why they're acting like these are independent government officials. They were appointed inspector generals. Whatever.
This is a chilling purge.
You treating migrants humanely, but there's been reports of them on planes with no water,
that was a bunch of
complaining.
Crap. That was a bunch of crap.
What do you mean a bunch of crap?
ICE detention facilities have the highest detention standards in the industry. Any of the ICE standards, our detention standards are higher than any state or federal or local facility in the nation, in the world. Someone should go to the ICE website, look at PBNDS 11, performance-based detention standards, and look at our detention standards, highest in the industry.
But are you sure you're only getting illegal criminal migrants? I mean, there were some pictures over the weekend of people that claim to be students, Brazilian students, who were showing examples of bruises on their arms from American deportation flights.
That's ridiculous, but if they want to make a complaint, it'll be investigated.
But your assurance is what?
The men and women at ICE are professionals. We do this for a living. And I can tell you, I ran ICE for years. I was the first director of ICE came up through the ranks. Again, these men and women professional, highest attention standards in the industry. We take care of these people. But we're going to enforce the law, and we're not going to apologize for doing it.
And you're going to do it in a sort of public way with, do you need to use the big military planes? Is that part of a sort of shock and awe tactic? No. They haven't been used before, have they, for migrants?
No, we got President Trump. We're going to use all the government to secure our border, which is the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. And we're going to enforce laws in this country. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime. And when you cause a crisis as big as the Biden administration caused, when you overwhelm the Border Patrol, but they can't do their national security job, that's when the fentanyl come across, kill 250,000 Americans. That's when you have a 600% increase in sex trafficking. That's when you have a record number of no-inspected terrorists coming across an open border. President Trump's going to secure the border as promised to the American people. We're going to enforce immigration laws. That's what.
It's literally why we elected him. And they're still trying to give pushback. This is how bad the media is. Instead of saying, hey, you know, we noticed this, that, or the other, or hey, you promised this, that, or the other, they're mad that he's doing what he said he was going to do. Why are they using military planes? What difference is if we walk them back? Like, why is this even a question? Why do they care? It's just they hate Donald Trump.
What we're going to do, without apology. We're on board. We're going to go forward. You're going to see it get a hell of a lot bigger in the near future.
So this, let me make this bigger so I can read it. I responded to, again, Wake Up America, breaking, Mexico will not accept deportation flights from the United States. I said she doesn't have a choice. She allowed access to the U.S. through her country. She will take them back. Oh, wait, my banner's over. She will take them and transport them to their home countries. This is what's going to happen. They don't have a choice. And in that one, I got into it. Like, people are like, Trump can't do this. Trump can't do that. No, she's going to do it. It's not an option.
This is reversing her previous opposition to do so. Sheinbaum said that Mexico accepted over 4,000 deportees, of which a large majority were Mexicans.
It's not a choice. And when we send Haitians and when we send Venezuelans, well, we don't really have to do the Venezuelan ones. We just fly them directly back to their homes. But if you let them come here, you deal with them. We'll give them back to you, and you exactly how you let them in your country, you can escort them back. But what you can't do is allow your northern border to flood our southern border and then say, oh, those aren't our citizens. We're only going to take back Mexicans. Well, then only allow Mexicans to be illegal. Like, I don't even, that point doesn't even make sense. Those are your people. And Miss Hakimi asked something yesterday, which I laughed at, because she's like, she didn't understand why only the men were coming. If it's so, and I laughed because I'm like, if it's so dangerous, because this is all of their reasons for coming here. They're scared to stay home. Why leave your wives and children there? Why not send them and you stay there as a man, as a husband, as a provider, as as the security of your family? Why do you come north if it's so dangerous to be down south? I don't understand that. But we do understand, because it has nothing to do with fear. It has to do with money. So when she asked, I just laughed, because it's funny. If you're worried and you're in fear of your life, why would you leave your wife and kids down in the place that you fear from, and you run up here? That's a man. Why do you do that?
Del 20 al 26 de enero.
First, from January 20th to the 26th, we have received 4,094 people, most of whom are Mexicans. So far, there hasn't been a substantial increase. With the arrival of President Trump, there were some days when the deported flights were reduced. But if we consider it weekly, it's a number that has already occurred in our country.
En otras ocasiones ha tenido nuestro país.
Earlier, Sheinbaum said that her administration had not agreed to the restart of the Remain in Mexico program by the Trump administration, under which non-Mexican migrants would be sent back to Mexico while they awaited processing by the U.S. As Mexico prepares for an influx of migrants, the authorities have been constructing giant tent shelters in the city of Ciudad Juarez. According to municipal officials, the temporary shelters in the city will have the capacity to house thousands of people and should be ready in a matter of days. The tents in Ciudad Juarez are part of the Mexican government's plan to ready shelters and reception centers in 9 cities across northern Mexico.
What's funny about that, why wouldn't you want your own citizens back? Especially if they're sending their best. Remember we used to hear that? They're sending their best here. That's why we should keep them. Okay, if that's their best, why won't you take them back? See how it never makes sense. Their arguments never hold for very long. All you have to do is just keep asking and pressing them about it. But if anyone ever asked this question, so if Mexico's sending their best, then why don't they want them back? They can't answer that. Why wouldn't you want people who can change your country's economic status and everything within it? These are your best people. Take them back. No, we insist.
According to a government document outlining the strategy called Mexico Embraces You, authorities at the site will provide deported Mexicans with food, temporary housing, medical care, and assistance in obtaining identity documents. The government is also planning to have a fleet of buses ready to transport Mexicans from the reception centers back to their hometowns. Meanwhile, approximately 1,500 migrants, predominantly from Haiti and Venezuela, formed long lines outside the temporary facilities for the Mexican Refugee Office, or the Comar, near Mexico City.
My opportunity, my vision was to reach the United States, but now the dream is over. I have no other choice but to stay here because of the deportation policies of the United States and because my country, Haiti, isn't safe. It has political problems. I don't want to return there now.
Now, I feel bad for people like that, right? But I feel worse for the parents here and their kids in school. Our citizens have to come first. That's just what it is. Now, he's in a safer place being in Mexico than in Haiti. So I think, he risked his life. And part of that word risk means it may not work. I do feel bad for a lot of the people because their risk is not going to pay off. It paid off temporarily. He was here. Now, after getting to see how great this country is, despite what Americans think, a lot of Americans, he can now go through the real process and stay in Mexico, work down there, and do it the right way. I understand the desperation, but again, you're no longer in Haiti. They're not going to deport you back to Haiti. Build in Mexico and work your way back here the right way. That's all I think most people want. I don't think anyone wants that guy and his kid to be thrown back on a boat and sent to Haiti. I don't think anyone wants that. But again, I have kids. I pay for my kids' school. I don't pay for somebody else's kids to be here. I just don't. And we have to take care of ours first. And then maybe we can figure something out for people like that and reopen the refugee status. But again, you still got to come the right way. You can't just, the amount of work it took for him to get to Mexico and then cross that border, it should account for something. It should say, well, we appreciate that. And you can stay in Mexico. And again, just reapply, or actually apply, because you didn't even apply in the first place. We do still need to work on the current process because it is long, but that's got nothing to do with me and my tax dollars and my high schools and my elementary schools and my daycares and sorry, my house has to be strong before I can allow somebody else to stay here.
But they didn't believe it. I have them on tape. I have them on tape.
I know. You have all the anecdotes. The assertion that all American voters did not know exactly what Donald Trump is going to do. Oh, they didn't think it is totally false. There was mass amount of polling during the campaign. Hispanic Americans supported deportations. in majority. You and I debated this many times.
Yep.
You claimed it wasn't true. And then what they do? They went and voted for Donald
Yes,
Trump.
and now
The election results are clear. There is no buyer's remorse. The people who followed our laws and came here legally are more than happy to see the laws.
But here's what's being missed. I think this is very critical. In a vacuum, yes, majority of Americans do support mass deportation, Scott. But you have seen this also in polls. When you start telling them what that means,
Illegals
right?
leaving, they support
no,
it.
No.
They support that.
Yes, they support the criminals. Let me finish. When you start telling them what that means, dreamers, veterans, teachers,
Their
first
family.
responders, their family, then they say, you know what? These are people that have been here for 30 years. They have contributed trillions of dollars to our economy. I prefer to give them a pathway to citizenship. So you know what the solve is, Scott? In order to get rid of all of those illegals, let's give them a pathway to citizenship.
Make them American. We don't know who they are. Just make them American. That's the answer. The assertion or the assumption that they're all so stupid that they didn't understand what mass deportation meant. She's insulting the people that she claims to be defending. She really thinks that Hispanics did not understand what the words mass deportation meant. It's been his campaign promise the whole time. Yes, but see, American Hispanics are stupid. They didn't know that they meant this, that they'd actually do it. What is she talking about? It makes no sense because it's dumb.
That is a win-win for the economy, for us.
You're fighting the last battle. He's fighting the next one.
The numbers were already down historically. They were less when Joe Biden was in office than when Trump was in office. So it's really all for show right now.
There's a couple of things that have been said that I think are inaccurate or out of context. One of which is the idea that it was just as good under Biden. That is patently false. Biden belatedly, at the end of his presidency, did some things through executive actions that the last 6 months made the numbers look better.
I didn't say it was just as good. I didn't say it was just as good under Biden.
I said the numbers were lower under Biden when Biden left than.
Oh, so you were being deceptive. And I love how she's clarifying no, and starts parsing the words that she used. Like, what are we doing here? So you're being deceptive on live on CNN right now, and now you're going to parse the words to clarify how deceptive you were being.
Said that I think are inaccurate or out of context. One of which is the idea that it was just as good under Biden. That is patently false. Biden belatedly, at the end of his presidency, did some things through executive actions that the last 6 months made the numbers look better.
I didn't say it was just as good. I didn't say it was just as good under Biden.
I said the numbers were lower under Biden when Biden left than when Trump was in office, and that is a fact.
No, over four year to 4 year. 4 year to 4 year.
When Biden left,
4 year to 4 year. Who had a better record?
When
the New York
Biden
Times.
left, hold on.
When Biden left, she's being very technical. Now she's playing a semantics game because she wanted to deceive the audience. So he's saying, well, 4 year to 4 year, how about that? Because you got, during those 4 years, Biden allowed in anywhere between 13 and 18 million people. So when you say, well, you know, he trimmed it all down right before the election, and then he got it to a number that was below Trump's from October the 2nd to October the 5th. If you have to do that, you're lying, and you're being deceptive by omission.
Maria, hold on. I want the governor.
The New York Times, which is no conservative publication, did investigative reporting not long ago that looked at the Biden administration and concluded that the number of illegal immigrants that President Biden led into this country was the largest number of illegal immigrants in the history of the country, bar none. New York Times. Beyond that, this point about Scott just raised, the American people are fed up with illegal immigration, and they're particularly fed up with people who are criminals and also fugitives from the law. Tom Homan may get to the point where he's in schools or hospitals. We'll see if criminals are hiding there. They're not there yet. And the idea that somehow this is offensive to go after rapists, murderers, sex traffickers.
That's offensive, Governor.
But now those numbers are going to ramp up. I'll just make a prediction to you. Trump will increase those numbers well beyond what you saw under Biden. And lastly, there's 1 million plus fugitives beyond the criminals who've already been adjudicated, have already had due process, that are in the United States. So once they get done with the gangbangers, the sex traffickers, the weapons merchants, the other folks who are involved in heinous crimes, then they can get.
So the point he just made right there is important. Let's see. I'm looking for those numbers again. So what he was talking about, the non-detained convicted criminals, they already went through the process, but they were here. This is what he was talking about. The non-detained, non-citizen, convicted criminals, convicted of unaliving people, 13,099, were just roaming this country, already convicted. Why? Oh, there's no room for them. The number of illegals convicted of SA, 15,811, just roaming the streets. Like, this is what he's talking about. There's already these people here.
To work on 1.2 million fugitives who've already been adjudicated and get them out of the country. And when they get that all done, maybe we can get around to some of the other ones.
And my question is why? We know that that's who they're going after right now because they're televising it. They're showing what they're doing and who they're going after, and these liberals still are fighting against it. Why? Why do you want this many here?
The people of Chicago tell me that your answers are nothing more than double talk, word salad, pre-scripted PR statements. Tom Holman showed up in Chicago and within 24 hours found a convicted sex offender who has been living in our city since 2009, flouting the sex offender registry. If he can do this, why can't you?
And to that point, how do we know how many victims that he has here? This guy was already convicted. How do we know? We don't. But this is the mayor of Chicago. And listen to his response to that.
Because that's their job. That is their job.
That's their job.
Their job's not to keep the people of Chicago safe.
To make sure that individuals who are undocumented, who have been charged with, convicted of a crime, it is the federal government's responsibility to do their part and uphold the law.
So you're a sanctuary city and you will not cooperate. So when you catch these people, you just let them go. That has nothing to do with protecting the American people. It's the federal government's job. Let's go back. Listen to this, because it's insanity. And this is what people of Chicago, my people, voted in.
Word salad, pre-scripted PR statements. Tom Holman showed up in Chicago and within 24 hours found a convicted sex offender who has been living in our city since 2009, flouting the sex offender registry. If he can do this, why can't you?
Because that's their job. That is their job. The federal government
job's not to keep
has a
the people of Chicago
responsibility
safe.
to make sure that individuals who are undocumented, who have been charged with, convicted of a crime, it is the federal government's responsibility to do their part and uphold the law. Our local police department, along with our public health department, along with our other sister agencies, are working to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And as we've stated repeatedly, those critical investments, you continue to see the results of those investments as violent crime continues to fall in Chicago.
So his job is not to keep the people of Chicago safe from illegals. So he's instructed his law enforcement to not engage, to not cooperate with ICE, to help get these people out of his city. Why? Because the feds can do that. I'm focused on other things. And he's saying this with a straight face. Chicago, when are you gonna do something about this?
Thank you very much.
I want to speak directly to people who are undocumented.
Here's another one.
We love you. We care about you. In the city of Minneapolis, we will stand up for you, and we will do anything in our power to help. Because you're not an alien in our city, you're a neighbor. Now, in Minneapolis, we have what is called a separation ordinance. And that separation ordinance states clearly that our city officials, our police officers and beyond, will not be gathering information showing who is and who is not documented.
Couldn't care less. We will not help get rid of illegal aliens. Why? Because we love them. We'll do anything we can to help. That's what he's saying. Yeah, Mike, what crops are they picking in Minnesota? We will not help. So when there's a crime against one of our citizens, we will weep, but we will not help. It's pretty outlandish and insulting and dangerous because he has immunity from prosecution. So he can't be prosecuted for allowing something like this to happen when he's openly saying, I'm allowing something like this to happen.
We do not ask the question with regard to immigration status, and because we haven't asked the question, we don't have any data to show documentation status in our city. Our police officers will not be cooperating with federal law enforcement around federal immigration law.
And this is the same thing that's happening in New York, all over California. That's almost a sanctuary state. But most of California, most of Denver, New York, obviously Minnesota, not the whole state of Washington, but Seattle. These cities say, nope, we're not gonna cooperate. We don't care who it is, how dangerous they are. We will not cooperate. We don't even want to know if they're dangerous. So if they're doing something, out of sight, out of mind. Meanwhile, people are getting victimized. Couldn't care less.
We enforce state and local laws here in Minneapolis, and we will do so to the best of our ability. But as for cooperation with ICE, the answer is no.
How have things been different?
Unbelievable.
Well, we've seen a complete 180 from one day to the next. We're seeing more arrests being made. We're seeing that throughout the country as well. More support now at the federal level, which we never had for the last 4 years. Everything that we did in Texas, especially what Governor Abbott has done with Operation Lone Star, has been challenged every step of the way by our own federal government when it came to infrastructure, when it came to criminal arrests. Now that we can actually go out there and have a more aggressive stance on border security and actually focus more on that transnational criminal activity and focus more on criminal arrests, it gives us much more leverage now. And working together with our federal partners, we are determined, we are committed that we can actually secure the border and actually provide more public safety for the entire country. So again, what the Governor Abbott has been doing for the last 4 years, and even now deploying more soldiers and even more DPS special agents to work in conjunction with Homeland Security operations, is going to provide a much more robust border security effort.
Okay,
so
Lieutenant,
we're looking forward to that.
And that's something else that Ms. Kimi talked about when the Biden administration were fighting against barbed wire. Why? Well, it won't allow our border agents to go get these illegals. Well, they're still on the other side of the border, so why would you need to go get them? There was an argument that I heard in one of those hearings that it was really, well, not really, but one of the other problems was people getting hurt by the barbed wire. Well, if you're not crawling through barbed wire trying to get here, you won't get hurt. It's pretty simple. And that was one of their legitimate arguments. I put that in her comments. People, they may not know that there's barbed wire there. So if it's really dark and they're crawling across trying to sneak into the country and they get hurt, then what do we do? I guess that's our fault.
I'm out of time, but thank you for yours. I just one quick question. Is any part of the wall back under construction right now? Do you know?
It is. I mean, we know the federal government is actually constructing border wall. We continue to construct border wall in Texas. So that in itself working together, we're seeing more of that infrastructure taking place right now.
A lot going on. Sir, thank you for your time.
There were ICE agents that were turned away from a Southside elementary school earlier today. Is targeting of schools, targeting of things like this something that the administration is comfortable with and will continue with?
I think the framing of the question is wrong. If there's a law enforcement activity that's taking place in the school, then that would be for the protection and defense of the child, as you know.
So why would an elementary school not allow ICE to go in and get an illegal alien away from elementary students? This is activism, but it's dangerous activism. If they're there, there's a reason that they're there. But they said, nope, we want to leave this illegal. Whoever it is that you're looking for, we don't even know. We don't want to ask. We want to keep them around our kids. Now, I don't know if the students' parents knew that they were doing this, but I'm pretty sure in Chicago, those parents would say, well, why didn't you let them in to get rid of somebody who's potentially dangerous? We know that they're only going after dangerous people. So as an elementary school official, why wouldn't you cooperate? What are we doing here? You are intentionally endangering elementary students in an elementary school where an illegal criminal is there. You're harboring him or her, most likely.
Turned away from a Southside elementary school earlier today. Is targeting of schools, targeting of things like this, something that the administration is comfortable with and will continue with?
Not targeting the school. We're targeting somebody who's in the school.
Framing of the question is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a law enforcement activity that's taking place in the school, then that would be for the protection and defense of a child. As you know, there's a epidemic of child trafficking and labor trafficking in this country. When federal law enforcement officers are turned away from a school, it is the act of turning them away that endangers the lives and safety of children. We've seen, as you know, 500,000 children trafficked over a 4-year period in the United States. This administration is going to investigate every instance of child trafficking, labor trafficking, sex trafficking, child smuggling, and all the attendant crimes involved in that. And our message to everyone in the country is to cooperate fully with Immigration and Customs Enforcement so that we can end the scourge of child trafficking and child abuse that has been endemic these last 4 years.
He comes to this country illegally, we're sending him back, and you want him treated like a VIP?
So this was another one where she was saying that she didn't like the airplanes. She wanted to fly them on regular airplanes. Why are they flying them on military planes? Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Listen to the people that well, just listen to this.
No, we want them to stop sending criminals, Jessica. Exactly. That's one thing. Listen to who was on the plane. Yep. These are the people that you want gin and tonics for in first class, maybe a hot towel. Okay, because this guy, Andres Parra, arrested in San Francisco, convicted of sexual penetration with a foreign object on an unaware victim. Or this guy. He was convicted of extortion, kidnapping, trafficking, manufacturing, and possession of narcotics. Or this guy on the jet, who you want special treatment for.
I don't. I want him to go on the normal plane.
A convicted murderer.
Did you hear her?
I don't give a damn.
She said, I don't. I just want him to go on a normal plane. Why does that matter to you? This has nothing to do with the plane. This has to do with you don't like Trump. So you're going to fight anything he does, no matter how good, you're still going to fight it. You're picking really bad battles.
You want him treated like a VIP?
No.
We want them to stop sending criminals.
She's about to tell on herself. She's going to say, no, I just want him on a normal plane.
Jessica. That's one thing. Listen to who was on the plane. Yep. These are the people that you want gin and tonics for in first class, maybe a hot towel. Okay, because this guy, Andres Parra, arrested in San Francisco, convicted of sexual penetration with a foreign object on an unaware victim. Or this guy. He was convicted of extortion, kidnapping, trafficking, manufacturing, and possession of narcotics. Or this guy on the jet, who you want special treatment for.
I don't. I want him to go on the normal plane.
A convicted murderer.
I don't give a damn.
This guy was a convicted murderer in Colombia, Jessica.
We have a government right.
Do you hear? I just want him on a normal plane. I just need a victory, any kind of victory. This is insanity. Pure insanity. You're mad about how we're transporting them, even though we're not beating them. We're not dragging them across like Crypto dragging Superman through the tundra. We're flying them over in a plane that you don't like the optics of. Never mind what they did. We need to treat them more humanely.
Extortion, kidnapping, trafficking, manufacturing, and possession of narcotics. Or this guy on the jet, who you want special treatment for.
I don't. I want him to go on the normal plane.
A convicted murderer.
I don't give a damn.
This guy was a convicted murderer in Colombia, Jessica.
We have a government right now that is reckless. Reckless and also, I mean, as I've said, performative. I mean, I want to show you an image of Kristi Noem, who was just confirmed, the former governor who's confirmed as Department of Homeland Security. I mean, it's as if she's cosplaying. It's almost a game where she seems to be cosplaying, because I'm not sure what she thinks that she's portraying here. She might as well be at Comic-Con.
So again, it's about optics. Not what they're doing. It's about, we got to present this in a much, much better way. We need to put a bow tie on it. Why does that matter to you?
James and Joy say you're reckless and you're just role-playing for fun.
She's dumber than a box of rocks. Bottom line is, let's talk about Chicago for a minute. Chicago mayor says that we put fear in the elementary schools because ICE agents went to elementary school. Total false story. What ICE did in Chicago is save children. What we did in New York today is save children. Just Chicago alone, we arrested like 9 sexual predators, most of them child sex predators. We took them off the street. We took them off the street in New York today. We're protecting the community. We're saving children. We're going to secure that border so less Americans die of fentanyl deaths. We're securing the border so less women and children are sex trafficked. Biden administration had a 600% increase in sex trafficking. We're securing the border so less terrorists and people on terrorist watch lists get into the country. Biden, under Biden, we had a 3,500% increase in people on terrorist watch lists. No, we're saving this nation. We're making America safe again. So they need to get out of the way because we're coming. We're going to do it. They're not going to stop us.
She started crying on her Instagram page. We're going to roll that clip for you right now.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't.
That's Selena Gomez. I don't know what's going on with Candace Owens lately, but she's really upped her game when it comes to being like her comedic timing and what she's doing is hilarious. This is phenomenal.
I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
I'm not laughing, you're laughing. And so first and foremost, it's funny first of all, she puts a little Mexican flag, something like, I don't know. Everybody like loves a flag during debates, like a Ukrainian flag, an Israel flag, and now I've got a Mexican flag, and she's just trying to like relate to the people, like, oh. But this comment, I was in stitches. This user just wrote underneath that, you know, he's like, girl, he used the B word, BITCH can barely even pretend to speak Spanish. And yeah, here she is just like relating to the amigos. And there's another reason why it's also funny. And so I want you to love with me, irrespective of what you think, even if you're on the left and you just love the idea of, I don't know, mass illegal immigration. You have to acknowledge that celebrities in general, like their solution to problems are funny because regular people, it's knowing that she set up her phone to cry that really gets me because it disturbs me. It's like what I said last week. Celebrities don't know they're insane, right? They don't know. I don't know how much money has to be in your bank account before you trip over into the insanity. I don't know how much money you have to have before you start sending text messages about being Daenerys Targaryen and having little monster dragons. Like I need to know what that number is that hits in your account where then you're like, I'm just crazy. But I guess they're called eccentric because rich people are called eccentric, poor people are called crazy. But that level where they get to eccentric, where it's picturing her setting up for that makes me laugh, right? So you have a feeling coming on. Imagine you in your life, like something happens, I don't know, you start crying hysterically, like nobody grabs their cell phone. Think about the steps there, right? Oh, I'm sad. I open my Instagram. My life. I'm so sorry. My life, is it going? Is it going? Okay, it's live. That's it. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this happened. It's weird.
So, it's so great because it's so true. Like, why would she grab her phone while she's crying? Or did she wait until she set up her phone? It's so great.
In terms of
even the young Turks, and I get it, they're course correcting after what happened, especially after the predictions. But that doesn't mean they're not right in what they're saying. I don't trust him at all. I don't trust what's her name? I don't trust her at all. But at least they're telling the truth.
When to start crying like Selena Gomez? Save it for the mass deportations when we have to rally the whole American people to our side to prevent it. But when you do it, when they're picking up convicted felons, you're gonna lose the American people. So don't do that. As Anna's about to tell you, we're already losing them. I don't wanna lose them anymore before we get to the actual problem.
No, we lost them. I wanna be very clear that when I was talking about Venezuelan gang members, that was specifically meant to make a point about how the Democratic Party, which was in charge at the time, needed to do something about that. Otherwise, Americans are gonna be ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's exactly what's happening here. So in 2016, public opinion polls showed that only 36% of Americans favored mass deportation, only 36%.
Listen to the increase. Again, this is doesn't get much more left than these guys. But even they're saying, hey, what are we doing here? Why are we defending criminals? Like, we should be celebrating this. What are we doing? Listen to the numbers. So 30-something%, you said, favored mass deportation.
Fast forward to today, let's look at the numbers. Well, New York Times came out with a poll, 56% of Americans in favor of mass deportations. Oh, well, that must be an outlier, right? Outlier poll. How could the number increase so much? Marquette, 64% of Americans in their poll indicated that they favor mass deportation. CBS News, 57%. ABC News, 56%. We have lost them already because when you're unwilling to make a distinction between people who are here illegally, who are committing crimes, who are running amok, with those who might be in the country illegally, but they've been here for a while, they're productive members of society and they're not hurting anyone, well, all of a sudden, you're gonna have the majority of Americans think, well, Democrats aren't serious about keeping us safe, and now we don't trust them to deal with immigration.
That between 55 and 60% of all Americans think mass deportation is needed. And what she's saying is because they're conflating criminals with the everyday, nanny or whatever, what do they say? Agricultural, hospitality workers. When you conflate them, you risk this happening. That's what you do. This is why I refuse to call them migrants. This is why I refuse to call them what's the other one? Immigrants. No, they're illegal aliens. That's just what they are. Because I won't do what they're doing. I will not mix them together. That's not what's happening here. They're not legal. They didn't migrate here. They stormed across the border. Sometimes they overwhelmed Border Patrol to get here. So now when you try to tell me to use different terms like migrant or immigrant, no. I'm not going to compare an illegal immigrant to somebody who's working for a tech company in San Francisco on an actual visa. I'm not going to compare them. It's not the same thing. Because one, we recruited, and the other forced their way here ahead of everyone else. There's no conflating. I refuse to do that. I refuse to call them anything other than illegals or illegal aliens, because that is actually the legal term.
Now we want mass deportation.
Yeah, so there were Venezuelan gangs. They were among the first rounded up in Denver. Now everybody admits that there were gangs, and they did take over apartment buildings. Yeah. They never took over a city, and nobody other than some, I guess Trump might have said they took over the city, but that was.
No, he was referring to Haitians in another city, where thousands and thousands were led into a city that only had thousands of people. That is a takeover.
It was outrageous and ridiculous. No one serious said that. So, but when you chose to fight on those grounds, you did great damage to our cause. Now mass deportation is more popular because people think that it might, we might be talking about those criminals. And so if we were recent, by the way, and then everybody always changes the goalposts. So now I see people saying, oh, no one thought.
No one denied that there were Venezuelan gang members. No one denied that they were there.
No one denied that they took over apartments, at least.
I covered this. I'm pretty sure they did. I'm gonna show that.
Exactly what they said. That's exactly what they said.
And no one denied that they should be deported. That's not true. People are denying it right now, right? Let alone earlier.
It's insane.
So, guys, we've got to win them back. You have to, when you're losing the country, you lose, and roughly here, about 57% of Americans saying we want to deport all the undocumented immigrants. You've got to be able to stop that. And the way you stop that is winning the argument, winning back people on moral grounds, intellectual grounds, and by being right.
And the part that's he's not understanding is progressive people progress. They can't just stop. They don't hit the brakes. Crazy people, they act crazy. Crazy is crazy. That's what they do. Progressives progress. They will only push further and further and further to the left. This is my left. Further and further to your left is what they do. Right? So to expect them to stop, it's not in their DNA. Conservatives conserve. They try to hold on and be strictly constitutional. Or be, there are old racists. They want to hold on to that. This is the good old days. It's just what people do. So when you give these titles, you need to pay attention to what those titles are. What do they mean? When somebody says they're liberal, what does that mean? They mean they're more free. It's what it is. So you have to find out what they mean by liberal. When you say liberal, what do you mean? Are you like that bishop who's calling for Trump to have mercy on trans and alphabet children? Is that what you mean by liberal? No. Oh, okay. I'm just checking. I want to make sure what you're saying lines up with what I'm thinking, because they love changing definitions. It's what they do.
Incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns.
Remember, they were just talking about, a lot of people denied it. And there are liberals today saying, no, we didn't deny it. Okay, let's see what you say. What? Let's go back to, I think this was November. This is right before or right after the last debate. Maybe September-ish.
Officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
It says, the mayor refutes Trump's claims of gang takeover in Aurora.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border?
You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently.
All eyes continue to be on Aurora, especially after Tuesday's presidential debate. We are hearing from Mayor Mike Kaufman, who says the remarks made by former President Donald Trump about the city of Aurora are simply not true.
So did they deny it? No. Okay, just checking.
The overreaction in all this has created an hysteria in terms of what is true, what is not true. And so I think it's important to set the record straight.
A known member of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, who was one of the men in this viral video from Aurora last September, was arrested in New York City today.
He was arrested in New York City trying to buy grenades. So I looked into it. I'm like, I wonder what he was arrested for. He was just trying to buy some grenades. No big deal. By the way, we're a sanctuary city. We're not going to track this, and we're not going to say that this is why he's traveling the country, come back to Denver with grenades. We just wanted to, that's the Fed's job. Let them figure that out.
And all this has created an hysteria in terms of what is true, what is not true. And so I think it's important to set the record straight.
A known member of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, who was one of the men in this viral video from Aurora last September, was arrested in New York City today. 26-year-old Anderson Zambrano Pacheco was wanted for felony first-degree burglary and felony menacing with a firearm. He was taken into custody early this morning.
Tuesday, CBS News' Major Garrett followed ICE on a morning raid in Manhattan. Results brought relief to Aurora.
Target today is Anderson Pacheco, Venezuelan national. He's wanted out of Colorado.
Anderson Zambrano Pacheco had felony warrants for first-degree burglary and menacing with a firearm. He's one of the TDA members seen in this viral footage from Aurora's edge at Lowry. The video's from Cindy Ramiro's doorbell. We spoke to her in August.
They left us there to die.
The now former resident escaped. It's been nearly 6 months since she left 12th and Dallas.
I'm still terrified.
Her trauma followed, and as more came to light, so did support.
There were a lot of people in denial of this being a problem.
The city eventually acknowledged presence of a Venezuelan gang. Local, state, and federal partners began work on a large-scale operation known as Safe Haven.
I played video right before or right after that debate with Kamala. Anyway, her and Trump. I played video of the head of police saying, no, we've asked all the residents. They all say that everything's fine. Yeah, there's some little crimes here and there, but there are no Venezuelans who took over this building. Meanwhile, they were going after what they were calling slumlords, based out of New York. I think it was New York, saying that they're just slumlords and they're not fixing things, they're not taking care of things, and the slumlords are saying, well, wait a minute, these people are extorting us. They've taken over the property. I'm not going. We can't deal with this. The mayor was denying it. The police were denying it, and here you have a woman saying, I was one of the people who was being terrorized. They were scared to come forward, which is why they were saying, no, there's nothing wrong. There's one of those blink twice if you're in trouble situations, and they wouldn't even do that because they were scared. There were even people saying that there was a skit, and they set it up to make it look like a gang was knocking. Who would do that on camera? Them?
Hard part is identifying the TDA.
Chief Todd Chamberlain knew it'd take time.
I actually thought until this morning that they had all already been arrested.
Today, 5 of these men are in custody. There's a warrant for Ramirez Sanchez. Cindy wants a prisoner in her home.
Really, it's karma.
Says it's time her captors be shackled.
I hope he gets punishment, if not in the United States, then in Venezuela for what he did to me.
Across the country on Sunday, ICE officers arrested 956 people. That compared to about 300 a day back in September. More than 2,600 people have been picked up since President Trump's inauguration.
They tripled the amount of output that ICE was doing from September when that was actually happening and going on Sunday.
The White House social media feed featuring post after post of people ICE has arrested.
I am obviously. Oh, that was the end of it. Look at the crimes: assault of a female and firearm discharge, convicted of manslaughter, 3 counts of aggravated DUI, suspected of ties to ISIS terrorist organization, convicted of R-word of a child. These are people that they were arresting. Is that a problem? Why are liberals against this? That's my question. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Like, subscribe, share. I am a conspiracy theorist now because I think something's going on to where I can't get these last few subs. I find it hard to believe that I've had no issue consistently gaining subs until I got right here. And, you know, it also coincides with me not going live as much, not being able to go live as much. Because I think what I'm putting out as far as content is no different. I'm never going to change that. I'm not going to talk about anything different. I'm going to cover politics and things that directly impact our communities. That's why I'm here. I don't care anything. No StreamYard? What do you mean? No StreamYard today. I don't know what you mean. Oh, you want the link? I think that's what it is. Yeah, I have a little bit of time. I got some passport stuff to take care of. I will drop that. Yes, okay. I'm like, no stream. But absolutely, if anyone wants to come up and tell me how much they would love that our federal government stop enforcing the law. If they think that their city is better off leaving these people there, sure, go ahead. No issues. What's going on, G. Will?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Nothing much.
Hey, I'm in the car, so I don't know if the audio is going to sound really crisp.
I can hear you fine. I can hear you.
Okay. So the reason why I wanted to come up because you brought up the mayor of Chicago, and I almost sent you a video the other day of the people that voted for him giving him hell.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I've been seeing a lot of that.
Because he, he made promises of no raising on property taxes, but tried to raise the property taxes by like $3 million, and then now he's trying to do 150 or $300 million. Then he's trying to, because that got shot down, he's trying to do $150 million. But they got videos of him saying, "I will not raise your property taxes."
Yeah.
And they got on him about the illegals. They were like, "It's all right. You're a one-term mayor. We'll never vote for anybody like you again. We're going to see Trump do your job to protect the citizens of Chicago." He was like, and one like brought up the numbers of Chicago and voting Democrat, and how in 2020 it was 17% of Chicago voted Republican, and this term it was like 46%. He said, "So we waking up of black people." He said, "So we waking up, and y'all in trouble."
Yep. Because at some point, this is what it's going to take. The people have to say something. You can't just keep doing what you've always done if it's been failing over and over and over. I have a video of Gary, Indiana. Holy crap. I don't know if you know anything about Gary, Indiana, but it's incredible what has happened to that city. I might make a video out of that, but it's crazy. That city is, yeah, that's where Michael Jackson came from. But if you look at that city now, I think it said there's over 13,000 abandoned buildings in that city. I think it's like 10 or 15 abandoned schools that just up and left. It's horrible what happened to that city. And that's the end result of Democrat policies and never allowing allowing the other side to come in, because since 1943 that city has been Democrat. And where it's at now, when it used to be like a huge steel production, steel manufacturing hub, it's unbelievable looking at that. It's not much different from Detroit, but it's just abandoned, completely abandoned. Right. It's wild.
Right. Yeah,
I got something here. Oh, go ahead.
So what else I was going to say was my girl is the press secretary now. I just sat there with a big smile on my face. I'm like, man, she answering questions directly, and and no hesitation.
It's either Levitt or Leave It. I think it's Levitt.
Yeah.
Versus Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, KJP or whatever her name is.
Yep.
She didn't give her crap to answer nothing, because basically she was running because like the crap that was going on and the questions she was getting asked, she couldn't answer because it would, basically tell the American people the truth about what they were doing.
It would implicate
and what they were trying to do.
Look at this. I want you to see this. I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is Mayor Brandon again.
This oversight committee, of all the things that they want to have sight over, they should look at the White House right now. That White House is being ran in one of the most raggedy forms of government that I've ever seen. If anybody is questioning whether or not what our country would look like had the Confederacy won, there should be no question now. They want us to be afraid. Do not be afraid, Chicago. Whether it's an invitation or a subpoena, I'm always going to stand up for the interests of working people. And I will not be intimidated by some weak individual who won't stand up to an individual who believes he's a supreme being right now.
So he was subpoenaed by the House because now Congress is saying, well, wait a minute, you're a sanctuary city. We need to know why. And we need to know why you're not protecting the people of Chicago. So he was subpoenaed. Now he's going to have to go before Congress. This should have happened when he first got in. This should have happened to Lori Lightfoot. All of these people should be brought to the feds and say, hey, what is this? Why are you doing this? Why aren't you cooperating? Is it your duty or is it not your duty to take care of your people? And he's not. What does he do? He's evoking race.
You're worried about Chicago? Look in your front yard. We have a president right now who is obfuscating his responsibilities that should be very clear based upon the Constitution.
He's just saying anything.
He is rejecting the Constitution of the United States of America. And if they want to have a real discussion about undocumented individuals who are criminals, they should look at the very individuals who enslaved my people and colonized this land. So whether it's an invitation or a subpoena, the people of Chicago would not be intimidated or threatened by any individual who is unwilling to look in their own front yard of where the real threat to our democracy lies.
The irony of him saying that they need to look in the front yard. Yes, they need to look in their front yard and see the illegals in the tents.
Yeah, they're mowing their front yard.
It's wild.
Anyway.
How defiant he is.
So this is my thing, right? So what I'm seeing, like, back in the 80s and, 90s, because, rappers like Nas was pushing to go back to Africa thing and stuff like that. You could really get people really emotionally crazy by mentioning slavery, right?
Yep.
But this generation of children are so far removed from slavery and been pampered so much, they don't know what slavery is. Half of them ain't seen Roots to try to get an idea. So it's like we're gonna bring up slavery every time we can to try to jerk people's emotions, and it's not working anymore. You invoking slavery isn't working anymore. I ain't never been a slave. My kids don't know what slavery is, other than me making them do their chores at the house. That's their slavery.
Yeah, those days are long gone.
Right, it's long gone. Like you can call Trump all, the racist, the bigot. You can call him all the things you want, right? But you can't discount all the minorities in this country that voted for the man to do exactly what he's doing. But, media is now like, oh, look at what he's doing. Yeah, we asked him to. That's what we wanted.
It's huge right now on X. People saying, is this still what you wanted? Yes, it is still what you wanted. Like, we're not going to change our positions because you think it's outrageous.
Oh, I had to tell you. So David had posted about the airplane, since you had put the airplane, and the money that it was costing Americans, for the planes to be turned around and this and that and the other. So my response to him was, I was like, so now we're concerned about money that America's spending. Now it's a problem that America, that the government is wasting money. I was like, because you didn't complain one time about what they were sending to the Ukraine and to the Taliban and to ISIS and to all them. You didn't. I'm like, listen. I was watching a video where they were, the video you played today, or somebody had played, where they were talking about, funds that were going to another country for something like stupid, like teaching them how to cook.
Oh yeah, I played videos of that. Oh, just the stuff that we wasted money on. There was one today where they was I forgot how many millions of dollars to send condoms to Gaza. Right now, is that what we're really focused on? Right now, sending condoms to Gaza. So
that's what it was. Condoms.
Tons.
Yeah, that's what it was. Sending condoms to Gaza. I'm sitting there like, wait a second.
Yep. I did one where they were sending tens of millions of dollars to help teach, I think it was Afghans, how to weave.
Come on, man.
Blankets or something like, or carpets or something like. It's like, why is my money going to this?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? But
I understand to teach them how to fish theory, but don't teach them how to fish with my money when there's a whole lot of people that need to learn how to fish here.
Yeah, and don't teach them how to fish if they're in a desert.
right, yeah.
Literally.
Where there's no water. If
you want to take that literal, we can do that too. Andre, you should definitely go back and watch this one. I covered Trump's first 10 days and all the moves that he's made. and the illegal immigration and how the left is just fighting it, and how sanctuary cities literally are trying to combat what he's doing. It's just been amazing to watch how they react, even when they know what he's doing is right. They cannot admit it. They will not admit it. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, but that's all I wanted to come up for, man. I'm driving to work now, but I just wanted to come up and mention those two things, especially about the mayor of Chicago. I'm sitting there like, man, you said exactly. I mean, it's most politicians, but you say exactly what you need to say to get people's votes because it sounded good, and then you come in and do the opposite. But the difference between him and Trump is Trump said what he was going to do, and he said what he was going to do day one. And now people are complaining about him doing what he's doing day one. I mean, I told you, my mother called me crying because Trump signed the executive order to make her insulin go up. Then she called me again another day crying because he canceled Medicare. And I was like, Mom, I don't believe he canceled Medicare. I don't believe that happened. And I think you need to go back and look at that and stop watching The View, please. Because
that's why
you really
that's why what TP asked earlier, I had something on. I wanted to clarify that because I've been hearing that one a lot too. He's canceling benefits for Americans. Like,
so she called me back.
What sense does that make?
Right. She calls me back and says, "I'm sorry, I read it was different. It's a portion of Medicaid that was deemed unnecessary and a waste of money that he canceled." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, so your Medicare is good though, right? And she was like, yeah. I was like, okay. I was like, before you call me crying about something that Trump did because you know I voted for the man and you want to blame everything on me that's happening, you know, look at what's really happening. Stop watching CNN and MSNBC. I need you to do that.
But here's even a bigger question to ask her: are you mad that they lied to you because you saw that?
Right.
You believed it, and you came to me really genuinely upset.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make you mad that they did that to you? Because that's the problem with the media.
In tears, like she was totally stressed out. I'm on a fixed income. I'm retired. I can't afford my medication now at the price it is now, and I can't do this. And now I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see my doctor, and I don't know if I'm like, Mom, I think you really, really need to look into it. I was like, Mom, I don't think Trump would cancel like the insulin cost. I said, I don't think Trump would cancel something that was his idea.
I was just gonna say it was his idea. Biden continued that. So why would he do it? It never made sense. And every time I hear people say stuff like that, I'm like, just think about the motivation first before you make these assumptions. Just why would he do this? Who is he getting back at? What is the point of him doing that?
But my thing was, before I even asked that, I said, listen, I was like, what was in the bill that his order is, you know, I guess turning around or canceling? I was like, what else was in that bill? I was like, because what it is we're canceling not your Medicare or your insulin costs. We're canceling the crap that came with it. And then we're going to have Congress re-implement the stuff without all the rigmarole of illegal aliens being in this country and things of that nature. And she was like, well, I hope you're right. Me too. Because the last thing I want is for you to suffer from, you know, not being able to see your doctor and not being able to pay for your medication. That's not what I want. Yeah. I was like, but what I do want is people to respect the law in this country and know that there is a legal way of coming into this country and exercise that. That's what I want. I don't care if we got immigrants. Bring them all in as long as it's through the legal process. I don't care that it costs them money. It costs me money to live here too. So shoot, if it costs you $10,000 to get a lawyer to get you your citizenship, like it cost my boy Daniel, then you pay the $10,000. If you can't afford the $10,000, get the $10,000 and pay it back. But do it legally. That's all I'm saying. You know, when you had the video about the people that, you know, but they've been here for 30 years, they should just give them a pass to citizenship. in 30 years they didn't think of saying, hey, maybe I need to do this legally?
In 30 years, apparently they have to be working, right? Because otherwise, how are they still here? You mean to tell me you couldn't get the money to go through that process?
Yes. Yes.
You never occurred to you to start the process.
Right.
And I'm supposed to be upset for you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
This was something that Biden did right before he left.
Right.
This is one of those things I thought was fascinating. And I still don't understand it. Releasing 11 known terrorists.
Yeah.
But then they'll complain about they'll complain about Biden's or Trump's executive actions. So,
Biden was trying to be more petty than Donald Trump. That's what that was.
Yep, that's it. But he was doing it at the expense of lives.
Yep.
These are people who unalive other people. They believe that that's what they're supposed to do.
But none of them will mention that. None of them will say anything about it. They'll be like, yeah, but what about Donald Trump did this and I told you about the dude that threatened my life and talked about my family on Facebook. And
that was crazy. That was crazy.
And so
over politics.
Right. Over me disagreeing with blanket pardoning the pardon that Biden did. I didn't say nothing else. Right?
Wow.
But so this is what happens. I see him. Right?
Oh, you saw him since then? So just so people hold on. So just so people understand what happened. There was a guy who disagreed with G. Will on politics, and he started threatening his life and threatening to beat him up and all these kinds of threats. So now we're fast forward, and you actually saw him in person. No more keyboard.
No more keyboard. I tell him to keep that same energy when he's in my face.
Mm-hmm. I saw the message.
I see him out. I walk up to him, and my man starts dialing 911 immediately.
Wow. You should have let the
police come. My man starts calling.
Uh-oh. I think I just lost you. Ah. Either way, we got the gist. Oh, there you go.
Back. I'm back. Yeah, somebody's trying to call me. But you said I should what?
No, I was gonna say you should have let the police come.
Oh yeah, I could have showed the guy. I could have showed that. One, he doesn't know the relationship I have with the sheriff's department, and two, I could have showed him all his messages, and he would have got arrested for threats.
Yeah,
he'd have got arrested for threats. I could have pressed charges against him, but no. What I should have done was I should have opened my phone up and went live and showed his reaction and posted that on Facebook. That's what I should have did. Funny. This is what an internet bully looks like in person.
I still don't know how his shirt got all ripped off and all that. What was that all about?
I have no idea. This is a picture that I found on his Facebook page that gave the best picture of the idiot's face.
Anyway, I got to get out of here. I have some passport stuff that I got to take care of. Thank you for
coming my man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate everyone for coming by. Lester, the YouTuber. Well, I don't want to say that. I don't attribute that to any man. So, Lester, what's going on? Phoenix Rising, True Pop, Andre W. How you doing, sir? Thank you. Definitely go back and watch. Covered some really important stuff today. Really important. Mike Levin, thank you. Who else was in here? Obviously, G. Will, thanks for coming up. Thank you for joining the stream. Who else? There's some more people. I know that. Miss Just J, thank you, as always. TP, the perspective, appreciate you, sir. Mike Nice, thank you. I already said Mike Levin. Bolo was in here, thank you, sir. Amber C was in here, as always. So, trying to get to 500, man. That's all I'm trying to do. Like, get monetized. I got my last live taken down because it was too controversial, I guess. They did not want me talking about that bishop and how she wanted to have mercy on trans and alphabet children. I don't even know how you bring that topic up, but then to do it from a pulpit was disgusting. And I did a full live on it, and it sucks. But they blocked it, took it down. And then if I did do some trimming, I would have to trim out every word that she said. Andre Dub, they cut that whole live And then G Will said there was other people who got their videos of that live copywritten also. But it was wild. It was wild. Yeah, Phoenix Rising, that one disappeared the next day. The next morning, I think it was. I got an email that said it's been blocked. So a lot of the music restrictions that I get, I know. That's why when I play music, I understand what I'm getting myself into. They limit who can see it. I don't mind that. But when it gets blocked, it's like, all right, what is going on? I challenged it or disputed it, came right back. They didn't even look at the dispute. There's no way they had time to look at the dispute because I got my second email within 3 minutes of sending my dispute. Hey, this is fair use guidelines. I was stopping the video. It was I made it mine. I was reacting to a huge current event news story, and they just axed it. So anyway, like, subscribe, share. If you're on Rumble, check out my YouTube. That's what most people now. Most of my views are coming from Rumble, but I still need the subscribers on this side. I don't have hardly any over there, and I'm still getting more views than over here, which is actually pretty cool. But if you guys can, where is it? Share this link. That would be very helpful. As I said, you know what else they did with that video? They took all the views from it. I didn't know they could do that. I was like, wow. Because I watched it. So I had a certain amount of watch hours on it, and then they went down to like 3. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If there was 20 people in the chat at one point, how did only 3 people view it? They really did a number on that video. And like I said, they reduced the watch hours and everything. I was like, wow. Wow. But it is what it is. G Will, who was up here, has a company. If you guys ever want your own merch, and you need any of these things, it would be phenomenal if you use a black business to do it. What was the latest service agreement on why views were removed? I don't know. I know nothing about why the views were taken away. I was like, wow, all the watch time. I was like, that's really interesting. I didn't know they could do that, but they clearly did it, because when I went to look at my studio afterward and I saw the watch hours, they were gone. It went down to like 3 views and no watch hours, so maybe 2 watch hours. Wow. But anyway, this is G Will's company, STG Designs. They do custom apparel, t-shirts, embroidery, sublimation, tumblers, coffee mugs, all that good stuff. And if you need to get a hold of him to get any of that work done, this is his IG. Hit him up there. Reasonably priced, great quality work, black business, support. Anyway, I gotta go. Thank you guys again. Appreciate everyone. I'm going to leave. I'm gonna leave on CeeLo again. Thank you so much.